Urgent doesn't even begin to describe it. At the start of 2026, Eala was no longer just another name on the WTA Tour. She was becoming the story. A 21-year-old from the Philippines, carrying her own ambition and the hopes of a nation. After a quarterfinal run in Dubai and success in Indian Wells and Miami, she pushed into the world's top 30. This was the result of years of hard work and quiet belief finally breaking through on the biggest stages. Her game was shaped by the philosophy of Rafael Nadal: technical discipline, mental toughness, and the willingness to grind through long rallies.
Venus Williams chose Eala as her doubles partner, and WTA fans are absolutely shocked. Not Serena, not a seasoned veteran, a 21-year-old Filipina who, just days ago, was literally shaking on match point against the world number 2. But here is what nobody is saying out loud. Venus didn't just pick a partner, far beyond one tournament, and far beyond one generation. So what did Venus Williams see in Eala that the rest of the world is only just beginning to understand? Stay with me, because by the end of this, you will not be shocked anymore. You will understand exactly why this happened and why it had to. There is a version of this story that starts quietly. A little girl in the Philippines growing up in a family that breathed tennis. A child who watched the greats on television, Serena, Venus, Federer, and decided, in that stubborn way only children can, that she belonged on those same courts, that her name deserved to be spoken in the same breath. Most people who watch tennis today don't know the full weight of what it means to come from the Philippines and make it on the WTA Tour. The Philippines is not a traditional tennis powerhouse. It does not have the infrastructure of the United States, the depth of Spain, or the factory system of Eastern Europe. When Eala began climbing through the junior ranks, she was doing it largely on belief, talent, and sheer competitive will. And yet, the results started speaking before anyone was ready to listen. As a junior, Eala didn't just compete, she dominated. She captured 2 Grand Slam doubles titles, first at the 2020 Australian Open, then at the 2021 French Open. And then, in 2022, she won the girls' singles crown at the US Open, becoming the first Filipina to win a Grand Slam singles title at any level. Let that sink in. Not just a finalist, a champion. But junior tennis and professional tennis are 2 completely different worlds. The women who play the WTA Tour have been forged in pressure, in loss, in years of grinding it out on courts from Stuttgart to Sydney, from Monterrey to Melbourne. When Eala stepped onto the professional circuit, she had the pedigree, but she had not yet been tested the way only the Tour can test you. And tested she was. There were early rounds exits, there were ranking fluctuations, there were moments where the gap between junior brilliance and senior dominance must have felt impossible to cross. As recently as 2025, Eala entered the Miami Open ranked number 140 in the world, a wild card, essentially invisible to the broader tennis conversation. What happened next changed everything. She stunned Madison Keys. She took down Iga Swiatek. She became the first Filipina to reach the semifinal of a WTA 1000 tournament, and she landed inside the top 100 for the first time in her career. The tennis world turned its head. Who is this girl? But here's the thing about Eala that the rankings don't fully capture. It is not just what she wins, it is how she wins. Cool under pressure, tactically sharp beyond her years, and possessed of something intangible that separates the good from the great. She does not flinch. That word, brave, would become the defining word of her 2026 grass season. And it is the same word that explains why, when Venus Williams looked around for a doubles partner in June 2026, her eyes landed on a 21-year-old from the Philippines. Keep watching, because what happened in Berlin just days before this partnership was announced is the reason Venus made the call she did. And it is absolutely unbelievable. June 2026, the Steffi Graf Stadium in Berlin, the WTA 500 Berlin Open, one of the premier grass court events in the world, a high-octane warm-up for Wimbledon, where the best players on tour come to sharpen their games before the most prestigious tournament in tennis. Eala arrived in Berlin as a wild card. No seed, no guaranteed passage. Just a player who had earned the right to compete, standing at the edge of a draw loaded with top talent and daring to believe. Her first match? Against Donna Vekic, the reigning Queen's Club champion, a seasoned grass court weapon. who had just beaten some of the best players in the world on the same surface only days earlier. Eala won in straight sets. The draw breathed. She was through, but surely she would fall to the next challenge. That is how wildcards work, right? They get a round, maybe two, and then the real tournament begins. Except Eala had not read that script. In the round of 16, she walked onto the court to face Elena Wadakina, world number 2, two-time Grand Slam champion, arguably the most dangerous serve and forehand combination in women's tennis today. The match started in the worst possible way. Rybakina came out firing. She was serving at nearly 81% on her first serve, firing aces from the opening game, opening up a commanding 4-1 lead in the first set. By every reasonable expectation, it was over before it had begun. And then Eala did what Eala does. She stayed. She fought. She converted 3 of her 7 breakpoint opportunities and won 70% of her Bakina's second serve points, a number that tells you everything about the quality of her returning. She clawed back, took the first set 7-5, then controlled the second set with surgical precision to close it out 6-4. In her on-court interview afterward, Eala said, "I am a little foggy right now. I'm still shaking, and I was shaking on match point too." Those words went around the tennis internet in minutes, because they were so honest, so human, and yet she had won, shaking and all. The very next day, less than 24 hours later, she was back on court, this time facing world number 8 Elena Svitolina, a player Eala had been watching since childhood, a former world number 3, a champion in her own right, and a fighter that the tennis world universally respects. Eala raced to a 4-1 lead in the first set, closed it out 6-3, then dominated the second set 6-4. 6 top 10 victories in her young career, all of them in straight sets, and she had just earned 2 of them in 48 hours. After beating Svitolina, Eala said, "Of course, Elena is a huge fighter, and I've seen it many times. I've been watching her since I was a kid, so to be able to compete with her today is such an honor." And then she added something that tells you exactly the kind of competitor she is. "I think I'm getting better. I hope I'm getting better." She went on to reach the Berlin Open semifinals, her best ever result at a WTA 500 event. She earned 195 ranking points and over 57,000 euros in prize money. She rose to world number 30, just 1 spot away from her career best. And in doing so, she clinched her first ever seeding at Wimbledon, the first Filipina in history to be seeded at a Grand Slam. Somewhere, Venus Williams was watching, and she already knew what she was going to do next.
Now, let's be clear about something, because this is the part that shocked WTA fans the most. Venus Williams does not need a warm-up partner. She is Venus Williams, a 5-time Wimbledon singles champion, a 16-time Grand Slam doubles title holder, most of them alongside Serena, a woman who has won more on grass than almost anyone who has ever held a racket. When Venus decides she needs a doubles partner heading into Wimbledon, she has options, she has connections, she has history with virtually every established player on tour. And yet, she called Eala. The news broke ahead of the Bad Homburg Open, reported first by Tennis Channel, and then amplified across every major tennis outlet. Venus Williams and Alex Eala would team up as doubles partners at the WTA 500 in Germany. The reaction was immediate and intense. Former top 10 player Chanda Rubin was one of the first notable voices to weigh in publicly. Rubin pointed out 2 things. First, that the combined star power of Venus and Eala would draw significant crowds and sell tickets. But second, and this is the part that cut deeper, Rubin suggested that Venus may have specifically chosen someone younger to help cover the court more dynamically. At 46 years old, Venus is not the same player she was in 2016. Her game is still elegant, still powerful, still full of vintage Williams menace. But she needs a partner who can do what she cannot do as fluidly anymore: move fast, cover wide angles, and absorb pace. Alex Eala, at 21, does all of that. But it is more than just logistics. Consider Venus's track record in choosing doubles partners in 2026 alone. She experimented with Katie Boulter. She played alongside Leylah Fernandez. She paired up with Elena Svitolina. These are not random choices. They are players she identified as complementary to her game. And now she had landed on Eala, fresh off the most dramatic grass court run of any young player in 2026. Think about what Venus had just watched Eala do in Berlin. She watched a 21-year-old handle pace from the best server in women's tennis and still break her serve 3 times. She watched her beat Svitolina, a player Venus herself knows personally and deeply respects, with calm, precision, and absolutely zero panic.
She watched a player who does not flinch. In an interview ahead of the Bad Homburg partnership, Eala was asked how she felt about playing alongside Williams. Her answer was immediate. I am really, really ecstatic. Venus is such a trailblazer and continues to do so much and has done so much for the sport. I like to say that women's tennis has been a trailblazer for women's sports, and she is a big part of why that is. That is not just admiration. That is a player who understands the weight of the moment she is stepping into. That is maturity. The WTA community was buzzing. Fans were emotional, because this was not just a doubles pairing. This was a generational handshake happening in real time, and nobody had quite seen it framed that way until it was standing right in front of them. You think the announcement was something? Wait until you see what happened when they actually stepped on the court together. The result will tell you everything.
Wednesday, June 24th, 2026, Bad Homburg, Germany. Alex Eala and Venus Williams walked onto the court together for the very first time as a team. Their opponents, Catherine Harrison of the United States and Alexandra Osborne of Australia, a solid tandem ranked around number 142 and 143 in WTA doubles. Not superstars, but capable players who could cause problems if the new partnership lacked coordination. The match lasted 1 hour and 10 minutes. The final scoreline, 6-3, 6-4. Let's talk about how it happened, because the details matter. Eala and Williams started explosively, a 4-0 lead in the opening set that told you immediately this was not two players feeling each other out. This was two players who had clearly prepared, who had communicated, who had a game plan and were executing it. The first set was wrapped up in clinical fashion, 6-3. The second set had a moment of drama. Harrison and Osborne pushed back and pulled level at 4-4, a brief window where another partnership might have wobbled, where nerves or unfamiliarity might have crept in. But Eala and Williams won the final two games, with Williams herself serving out the match. A fitting image, the legend closing it out, the rising star right beside her. The result sent them into the quarterfinals against second-seeded Teresa Mihalikova and Olivia Nichols, a genuine challenge. But the first match had told the story that needed to be told. This was not a ceremonial pairing. This was not Venus giving a young player a gift. This was a functioning doubles team. Two players whose games complemented each other. Venus's vast experience, her reading of the court, her enormous serve, and Eala's speed, her return game, her ability to construct points under pressure. The combination worked because Venus had done her homework, and because Eala was exactly who Berlin had revealed her to be. There is a detail from the first match that deserves attention. After both Eala and Williams suffered first-round exits in singles, Eala fell to Elise Mertens 6-3, 6-3, and Williams lost to Irina Camelia Begu. They could have packed up emotionally. Singles losses have a way of doing that to a player, draining energy and focus. But they didn't. They regrouped. They walked onto that doubles court with purpose, and they won. That told you something about both of them. And for Eala, the significance of this moment extended beyond tennis. She has now, in the space of one grass court season, won the WTA 125 title in Birmingham, reached the WTA 500 semis in Berlin, beaten two top 10 players consecutively, climbed to world number 30, secured a historic Wimbledon seed, and partnered with one of the greatest players the sport has ever produced. All of this at 21 years old. After the Berlin run, Eala had said, I can't begin to describe all the emotions I've experienced this week. My heart is full, and I am forever grateful. Just imagine how it felt, days later, standing on a German grass court beside Venus Williams and walking away with a quarter-final berth. This is a young woman living the life she always imagined, and she is doing it by earning every single inch. Here is a question worth sitting with. Why does Venus Williams keep coming back? She is 46 years old. She has won everything the sport can offer. She has 7 Grand Slam singles titles, 14 Grand Slam doubles titles, 2 Olympic gold medals, and a cultural legacy that transcends sport. She does not need to be at Bad Homburg. She does not need to grind through qualifying matches, deal with travel, manage a body that has been through more injuries and setbacks than most people know. She could retire gracefully and spend the rest of her life being celebrated. And yet, she is here, on a grass court in Germany in the final week of June 2026, playing doubles with a 21-year-old from the Philippines. Venus Williams keeps playing because she loves the game. That much is obvious. But there is something deeper happening with this partnership, and it requires looking at Venus not just as a player, but as someone who has always understood the bigger picture of what tennis means. Venus Williams fought for equal prize money at Wimbledon and won. She advocated for women in sport when that advocacy cost something. She has always been conscious of legacy, not just her own, but the legacy she leaves behind in the sport. And when you look at who she has been choosing to partner with in 2026, a pattern emerges. She is pairing with younger players, players who are on the rise, players who would benefit not just from the competitive experience, but from proximity to her presence, her knowledge, and her example.
Chanda Rubin noted publicly that Venus likely chose Eala partly for her mobility on the court, a pragmatic consideration. But pragmatism alone does not explain the selection. Venus had other mobile, young, talented options available. She chose Eala specifically. And timing matters here. She chose her immediately after Berlin, immediately after Eala had demonstrated, on live court, against the best players in the world, the kind of composure that cannot be coached. It has to be inside you. Venus recognized something in Eala that reminds the tennis world of a younger version of herself. Not in playing style, though both possess elite grass court instincts, but in mentality, the ability to be completely present in the biggest moments, the refusal to let fear win. What Eala said about her game, that word brave, is the same word that could have been used to describe Venus Williams at 21, when she was trying to carve her own identity alongside the most dominant presence in women's tennis, her own sister. There is also this. Alex Eala grew up watching Venus Williams. She said it herself. And there is something quietly extraordinary about the moment when your idol looks at you and says, "I choose you," not as a student, as a partner, as an equal on the court. Venus Williams does not pick partners casually. She has won 14 Grand Slam doubles titles. She has forgotten more about doubles tennis than most professionals will ever learn. When she looks at a player and decides that player is worth her time, worth the investment of preparing together, worth the trust that doubles tennis demands, that verdict carries enormous weight. And right now, that verdict belongs to Alex Eala. What comes next is the part that makes this whole story feel bigger than a tournament, because Wimbledon hasn't even started yet, and the stakes are about to go through the roof.
So here is where we are. A 21-year-old from the Philippines beat the world number 2 and world number 8 back-to-back on grass. She became the first Filipina seeded at a Grand Slam. She was chosen by Venus Williams, one of the greatest doubles players in history, as her partner. And together, they won their first match in 70 minutes and advanced to the quarterfinals. WTA fans were shocked, and they had every right to be. But the more you look at everything that led to this moment, every match Eala fought through, every ranking she climbed, every top 10 player she refused to be afraid of, the more it becomes clear that this is not luck. This is not a fairy tale. This is a player who has been building towards something, quietly and relentlessly, for years. And Venus Williams, she always knew how to spot one of those. Wimbledon starts June 29, and for the first time in a very long time, the name on everyone's lips heading into the All England Club isn't a Slam champion or a defending title holder. It's Alex Eala. So here's the question I want you to answer in the comments below. Do you think Alex Eala can make a Wimbledon run deep enough to shock the world, just like she did in Berlin? And do you believe this Venus Williams partnership is the beginning of a mentorship that changes the course of her career? Drop your thoughts. I want to hear from you. If this video had you locked in from the first second, you already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, because this channel covers women's tennis the way it deserves to be covered, with the depth, the drama, and the real stories behind the headlines. Wimbledon is coming, and we are going to cover every moment. Don't miss it.
On paper, that seemed perfect for the clay court season. But tennis rarely follows the script because clay changes everything. Points turn into long, exhausting exchanges. Movement matters more. Every shot asks a different question. For a player built on aggression and fast point construction, clay was about to test her in ways nothing else had. She had 4 chances: Linz, Madrid, Rome, and Roland Garros. What followed would challenge her momentum and her confidence. In Linz, a solid win over Julia Grabher suggested a smooth transition. But Jelena Ostapenko was the next test. Eala competed well, but she fell short. It was a reminder that being competitive with the best isn't the same as beating them. Madrid offered a reset with a win over Pavlyukenkova. But Elise Mertens sent her home next, bringing more questions. Where was the aggression from Dubai? Clay has a way of exposing exactly what a player is missing: patience. Instead of dictating points, she was stuck absorbing pressure. Her ranking began to slide in the wrong direction. In tennis, every loss sends a signal. It tells the tour where a player can be attacked, where the cracks might be. Rome was supposed to be the reset. She opened with a dominant set, suggesting the turnaround had begun. But the rematch with Wang Shi became another reminder that Rome would not deliver the clean breakthrough she needed. Then came Roland Garros. Eala was drawn against Eva Jovic in the first round, not a rival, but a close friend. Jovic won in straight sets. There is a special kind of heartbreak in losing to a friend. It stays quieter, heavier. The reaction was immediate. Critics wondered if the hard court breakthrough was real or if the tour had figured her out. Her ranking slipped into the mid-40s. The narrative had started to turn, and then came grass. For many, grass is a challenge. For Eala, it was uncertain, but that is not what happened. In Birmingham, she opened the grass swing with authority, winning the title and regaining her belief. At the Berlin Open, she didn't just compete, she announced herself. She stunned world no to Eala, followed by a win over world no, beat Alina Svitolina. To top 10 wins in 1 week, she belonged. Eala arrived at Wimbledon with momentum and pressure. She won her opening matches, then faced the biggest test, defending champion Iga Swiatek in the third round. This was where the story shifted from impressive to unforgettable. Eala beat Swiatek in straight sets, 7-6, 6-2. That result rewrites headlines instantly. Not by accident, not by luck, by composure, conviction, and courage. The entire narrative changed. The clay court slump no longer looked like a collapse. It looked like the painful middle of a larger rise. Alex Eala's 2026 season will be remembered for the space between the surfaces, for the doubt she absorbed. She answered her critics not with words, but with results. Was the clay court crisis just a bump on the road? Or was this the moment Alex Eala truly announced herself to the tennis world? Clay broke her. Grass made her feared she fell hard on clay, but rose stronger on grass. Witness the transformation. Subscribe now and join the journey of Alex Eala's rise. Tap the bell so you never miss the next comeback.